Hello and welcome to Farmcon 21. I'm here in our cozy studio again to lead you through the many presentations telling you more about the upcoming Farming Simulator 22 and more. This year, we will be streaming the event in a compact format over 3 days instead of one super long day. What we really miss is meeting you in person and talking with you about what you've just seen or any other burning questions you might have. So, on each of the 3 evenings, some of us will be available in special stage rooms on our Discord server during and after the show. Enter the URL below or scan the QR code with your phone. Don't worry, we show it more than once. If you watch us on Twitch, you should also keep an eye on the chat because you will be able to take part in several raffles and even win a code for Farming Simulator 22 on PC, plus vouchers for dedicated FS19 servers hosted and sponsored by Nitrado. Yes, the Farming Simulator is scheduled to release on November 22nd. So before you ask, no, you won't be able to download or even play the game with the code before it comes out. But the game download will unlock on release day. So let's talk about Farming Simulator 22. It's our biggest and most ambitious Farming Simulator so far. The base game alone will already give you access to over 400 vehicles and tools. We have already announced seasonal changes, production chains, and 2 brand new maps plus an improved version of the popular Erlengrad map from the FS19 Alpine Farming expansion. In the next few hours and days, we will reveal a lot more. Farming Simulator 22 will also be our first game we have self-published. This is super exciting for us because it means that in addition to developing Farming Simulator 22, we are also taking care of more steps of the product's journey from us to you, the customer. To do this, we had to create an internal publishing unit, and we knew that we had to hire experienced people who have done this before. We've asked them to provide us with a super serious, high-budget cinematic documentary video to explain to everyone what they are doing. So let's have a look, shall we?
Giant Software is now a publisher. But what does it mean? Let's take a look inside our publishing department. You see these people? Well, basically those guys and gals are responsible for making Farming Simulator available to you, the player. Whether you buy a box in the store or purchase it digitally, no external publisher necessary. Although bringing it to the stores is a much more complex undertaking, and that's how it works. Oh look, this friendly fella is Boris. He's the head of publishing at Giant Software. He oversees the whole publishing operation all over the world. When Boris receives an order from a distributor who wants to sell Farming Simulator, he gets very excited and tells Anna and Carlo. This joyful gal is Anna. She's excited about the order too, and will go on to get the production started right away. No time to lose. Anna will give the production order to the pressing plant. They produce the disc containing our game. Meanwhile, Carlo tells them to do it diligently and quickly. Otherwise, Anna will not be so joyful anymore. Ain't nobody want that. Carlo is also responsible to oversee every step along the way of the whole production process. If something goes wrong, he finds solutions and talks to everyone. But for now, the pressing facility is excited too. Since Farming Simulator is a successful game all around the world, it's a big and important job. The game will now be produced. When the disc is ready and approved by us, it will be shipped to our distributors, who bring the game to the stores with success-fueled excitement. Wow! Now the retail stores are excited too, because Farming Simulator is a popular game, and stores like popular items. It's now on the shelf. This is a customer. Let's call him Bob. Guess who's excited to see Farming Simulator in the store? Right. It's Bob. Because he likes Farming Simulator or wants to get to know it. Aren't new things exciting? Yeah, they are. Oh, maybe Bob has a son or daughter. That's even more people to excite with the joy of virtual farming. Haha, in the end, everyone is happy. Unless Bob is not and decides to go on social media. The end.
So, Boris, nice to talk to you. How are you?
Fine. Things that we are announcing, so for that reason, absolutely fine.
Okay, cool. So why don't you introduce yourself again for our fans?
Sure. My name is Boris, and I'm the head of publishing for Giant Software, and now with the company for more than 15 months. And it was an amazing ride.
So you're with us for over a year now, and what have you learned since then?
I've learned how effective it can be to work with such a young, dedicated team. You start processes, and processes get done. It's crazy.
Tell us a little bit more about your team, like how did it get formed?
My team was formed through classic search and past collaboration. Carlo, for example, was a tip that was given to me. And with Carlo, we have the best possible product manager that we could get for Giants. And Anna, I was working together with Anna for more than 10 years. And after I've convinced her to come to Giants, she really has taken the professional inter-firm communication to a new level.
What have you achieved since then?
A lot, to be honest. We could establish ourselves as publishing partners together with Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Valve, Epic, all of the big ones. So really a lot. And what is even more necessary, we have also been able to integrate all processes which are needed to bring out a proper product.
So I guess a lot of our fans want to know what exactly is beneficial for them that we now self-publish as a developer and a publisher, of course. So what would you say is the big benefit for our product now that we're a publisher too?
By working with a large number of distributors, we have now the opportunity to get much more direct in contact on every region in the world. For example, we've already been able to maximize the outcome of our communications in North and South America, getting more direct into the regions with getting in touch with the influencers, and all of that stuff really helps a lot.
What would you say is the benefit for us as a company, as Giant Software, to self-publish?
I think the most important reason why the owners of Giants made the decision to go self-publishing is the more direct contact to the fans. And with having this, I think we can record their wishes and opinions to make an even better game in future. And of course, another important point is to explore new regions like Asia and others.
Okay, cool. So when we are talking about new markets and of course various examples, what exactly will fans notice when we now self-publish the game?
They will find the product in the shelves of retail. I think this is the most important thing.
So more players will find the game in the shelves now. Can you give us some examples on where they will find the game?
Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, and Middle East. And this will naturally give us more fans and more fans to the farming simulator community.
And of course, will there be new languages supported in the future?
Yeah, we already integrated the Nordic languages, for example, or even Brazilian Portuguese to make the game more accessible to children not yet speaking English, of course.
Perfect, tell us more.
And as a conclusion of all this, of self-publishing means more fans means more feedback, feedback means better games in the future.
That sounds good. Can you tell us already from a publishing side what will improve with Farming Simulator 22?
Yeah, of course. We have already been able to streamline our pre-order strategy, so to avoid all of the confusion of having different pre-order items, whatever. So we will only have one pre-order item, and you can receive it wherever you pre-order your game digitally, or afterwards buy it physically. And this, I think, is a really good thing to avoid all of this confusion.
Okay, can you tell us again what the pre-order item will be?
will be the class saddle track pack. So it's not only a tractor, but it's a machine which comes with many different attachments.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
And now we get back to Martin showing you more of Farmcon.
So that's self-publishing. We are super excited and can't wait for the 22nd of November and release Farming Simulator 22 worldwide. Speaking of worldwide, let me tell you about the Farming Simulator Ambassadors Network. Our community team works together with ambassadors across the world to get feedback from as many regions as possible. We asked some of them to introduce themselves and tell us a bit about their Farming Simulator experience. Let's start with Bruno from France.
Bonjour, c'est Bruno d'Universimu. Vous me connaissez plus sous le nom de Simulagri Modding. Je suis vraiment très fier aujourd'hui de représenter la France, de représenter Farming Simulator en France via le réseau ambassadeur. Merci Giant Software pour cette opportunité. Vous êtes nombreux à m'envoyer des messages chaque jour via Discord, Facebook ou Twitter, via nos réseaux sociaux pour bien sûr de faire vos doléances et je les remonte ensuite à Giant Software. Vous avez vu le résultat, aujourd'hui on a la vigne, une culture emblématique de la France qui arrive sur Farming Simulator 22. J'espère qu'à l'occasion de cette Farmcon, on aura d'autres annonces. Moi personnellement, voilà, j'attends un petit peu plus de l'élevage dans Farming Simulator 22 et notamment de l'élevage de chevaux. Qu'est-ce que t'en penses toi? T'en dis quoi? Bon, lui il n'est pas très bavard, peut-être que dans Farming Simulator 22, les chevaux seront un petit peu plus bavards. Hein mon coco? Allez, je vous souhaite une bonne Farmcon et je vous dis à très bientôt. Ciao tout le monde!
Thank you, Bruno. So back to Farming Simulator 22. A month ago, on the 22nd of June, we did have another exciting moment though. The release of the Farming Simulator 22 cinematic trailer. It shows the passion and hard work farmers proudly dedicate to the job. Such a trailer is hard work though. Already towards the end of last year, we internally discussed the direction we want to take with the trailer and started looking for a partner to realize that vision. With Capsule Studios from Paris, we found this partner, and every time I got a weekly status update with the latest version, I got super excited. So let's have a look at how it all came to life. Let's go to Paris and check the archives. But first, let's watch the trailer one more time.
A wise man once said, to forget how to dig the soil, tend the earth, is to forget ourselves. Well, maybe some have, but a few of us still know. You gotta be willing to put in the time, make the sacrifices, and the hard choices. The job's got its perks, don't get me wrong. The sweet smell of the morning dew, the way the warm sun and the cool breeze can dance across your skin. But don't think it's a game. Farm's got a way of sorting the wheat from the chaff. Just remember to keep your wits about you. You fall, you get back up again. 'Cause this is more than just a job. It's a calling. Who else would choose to wake up early in the morning, tear up their hands working in the fields all day, and then spend the evening planning how they're gonna do it all over again, better, tomorrow? Day after day. Season after season. Year after year. That's a calling that's never ending. It stretches far forward and back from us as long as farmers have been tending this earth. And farmers will be around as long as such a thing exists. Tomorrow is secured by those willing to dirty their hands today. So when you feel alone out there in the field, just remember, you're not. Think about all those that have come before you. And all those others that'll follow. Plant today, harvest tomorrow.
Merci beaucoup Martin. Bonjour à tous, je suis Stéphane Montel, cofondateur de Capsule Studio. Capsule est un studio d'animation basé à Paris en France et nous réalisons principalement des trailers et des cinématiques pour l'industrie du jeu vidéo. Ces derniers mois, nous avons eu l'occasion de collaborer avec Giant sur la réalisation du trailer pour Farming Simulator 22. Et toute l'équipe de Capsule est ravie d'avoir aujourd'hui l'occasion de vous présenter les coulisses de fabrication de ce trailer. Début 2021, nous avons commencé à discuter avec Giant de l'histoire du trailer. L'objectif n'était pas seulement de montrer les améliorations du prochain jeu, mais aussi de réussir à transmettre les émotions qui animent la communauté de joueurs. Pour beaucoup d'entre eux, l'agriculture est une véritable passion et Farming Simulator est le jeu qui respecte et capture cet engagement. Au regard des intentions, il était clair que nous devions imaginer une histoire avant tout humaine. Une histoire qui parle de tradition, mais aussi de transmission entre les générations. D'un côté, nous avons le personnage de Jacob, c'est un agriculteur d'âge mûr qui doit en quelque sorte représenter la sagesse du fermier expérimenté. Et d'un autre côté, nous avons le personnage de Sophia, qui représente une nouvelle génération de fermiers, peut-être plus décontracté et moderne dans son attitude, mais tout aussi engagé. À partir de là, nous avons commencé à traduire nos idées sous la forme d'un storyboard. La mise en scène que nous avons imaginée cherche à mettre en contraste les approches très différentes du métier de fermier par nos deux personnages, pour au final révéler qu'il s'agit d'une histoire de famille, l'histoire d'un père et de sa fille et de leur passion commune pour l'agriculture. Avec l'équipe de Giants, nous avons eu beaucoup de discussions pour trouver le juste équilibre dans le ton de chaque personnage. Par exemple, Sophia, au début du film, a une attitude peut-être très décontractée vis-à-vis de ses responsabilités, mais il était important de trouver le juste milieu, de ne pas tomber dans le ridicule pour pouvoir par la suite faire évoluer son personnage et montrer son apprentissage. Le storyboard est vraiment la première brique d'un long processus de fabrication. À partir de là, une foule d'artistes vont collaborer ensemble pour donner vie à un film entièrement en animation 3D.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Alice Ruquier, caractère TD à Capsule Studio. Créer un personnage en 3D en mesure d'être animé est un véritable travail d'orfèvre. C'est une tâche qui réunit une multitude de talents et de défis techniques et artistiques. Dès le départ, nous avons pris le parti de baser notre travail sur des sources de véritables humains. À l'image d'un vrai film, nous avons organisé un casting afin de choisir l'actrice et l'acteur qui incarneraient le mieux les personnages du trailer. Notre choix s'est très vite arrêté sur Anaïs Parello et Dominique Gould. Cet acteur et cette actrice professionnelle avaient toutes les qualités possibles pour incarner au mieux la voix, le mouvement, mais aussi le visage de Jacob et Sophia. La première étape a été de scanner Anaïs et Dominique. Cette étape consiste à prendre en photo sous tous les angles le modèle afin de reconstituer la texture et les formes de son visage. Cette base de travail est ensuite fournie à l'équipe de caractère artiste qui va la peaufiner et l'adapter aux besoins du trailer. Cela consiste notamment dans le travail des textures et des particularités qui vont donner le réalisme à la matière des personnages. En suivant les designs, il faut également créer les coupes de cheveux des personnages, qui ne sont pas nécessairement celles de nos acteurs. Il faut également créer les vêtements et les accessoires qui seront portés dans le trailer. Enfin, l'équipe de caractère TD va créer le squelette des personnages en 3D. Le squelette en 3D, c'est l'armature invisible qui va permettre de manipuler et d'animer le personnage. Elle va également permettre de récupérer toutes les informations de mouvement qui seront issues du tournage de motion capture. Pendant toute une journée, chaque scène est jouée en studio. Les acteurs portent une combinaison spéciale qui permet à une multitude de caméras infrarouges de capturer leurs mouvements sur le plateau. Cela demande de faire preuve de beaucoup d'imagination pour rentrer dans la peau des personnages puisque le décor est extrêmement minimaliste. Donc les acteurs doivent se projeter dans ce qui ressemble plus à une pièce de théâtre sans costume. À partir des meilleures prises, on récupère le mouvement des corps qui va ensuite être reprojeté sur le squelette de nos personnages en 3D. Commence alors l'étape de prévisualisation. C'est une étape qui consiste à créer une maquette 3D du film qui va se concentrer sur les aspects de la mise en scène. le cadrage des personnages dans les plans, les mouvements de caméra ou encore le montage. Tout ce travail est ensuite fourni à l'équipe d'animation qui va peaufiner et l'adapter en fonction des besoins du trailer. Pour chaque plan, tous les éléments animés vont être retravaillés, peaufinés, afin de rester réalistes tout en respectant les intentions artistiques de l'histoire du trailer. Enfin, l'animation faciale des personnages est elle aussi issue du tournage de motion capture. Les expressions des acteurs ont été filmées et ensuite reprojetées sur les modèles 3D de Sophia et Jacob.
Just remember to keep your wits about you. You fall, you get back up again. Because this is more than just a job. It's a calling.
À ce stade, la création des personnages et l'animation est déjà bien établie et plus d'une douzaine de métiers différents ont déjà collaboré ensemble. Mais ce n'est qu'un pan de la production. En parallèle, d'autres équipes sont en train de s'occuper de la création des décors, des éclairages et du rendu des images qui vont constituer le trailer.
Bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Sami Sefadj, je suis environnement lighting artist chez Capsule Studio. Quand on pense à Farming Simulator, on pense très vite aux tracteurs. Beaucoup de tracteurs. Les discussions avec Giants ont été très importantes sur le choix des véhicules afin de nous aider à apporter de la cohérence aux actions de nos personnages. Giants nous a donc guidés pour rendre les tracteurs et les modules aussi authentiques que possible. Cela passe par le traitement fidèle de chaque accessoire, couleur, texture et de tous les mécanismes en mouvement. Nous savons que le moindre détail est important pour la communauté des joueurs de Farming Simulator et au final, ces véhicules sont devenus de véritables personnages à part entière de notre trailer. À travers ces véhicules, nous découvrons un ensemble de décors inspirés du nord-est des États-Unis. Le travail de création des décors en 3D est avant tout un travail d'observation. À partir de références réelles, les artistes en charge des environnements vont créer une première base de décors, qu'ils vont complexifier petit à petit en ajoutant divers niveaux de détails tels que les végétations, les objets et divers éléments architecturaux. À ce stade du film, chaque scène comporte les personnages, les véhicules et les décors. Tous ces éléments sont animés afin de raconter l'histoire du trailer. L'équipe de FX Artists peut alors intervenir afin de créer les différents effets tels que la poussière, la fumée et les particules. Chaque effet est simulé physiquement afin d'être le plus réaliste possible. C'est une étape très importante afin de se rendre compte de l'influence des éléments animés sur leur environnement. En parallèle, l'équipe des environnements artistes poursuit son travail sur l'éclairage de chaque plan du film. L'objectif est de rester réaliste tout en ne négligeant pas l'aspect cinématographique et artistique du trailer. Chaque séquence a donc son propre éclairage, sa propre couleur, afin d'accompagner la narration. Par exemple, l'hiver est marqué par des tons froids, alors que l'été est beaucoup plus chaud et lumineux. La lumière a donc une double fonction, celle d'illustrer le passage du temps entre les séquences, mais également d'appuyer les émotions exprimées par le trailer. Après l'étape d'éclairage, il faut calculer chaque image qui constitue le trailer. Chaque seconde d'animation nécessite 25 images, et chaque image met entre 2 heures et 24 heures pour être calculée. Toutes ces images sont ensuite assemblées pour former l'intégralité du film. On vient alors apporter les dernières finitions avec l'étalonnage des couleurs. C'est l'aboutissement de l'aspect visuel du trailer.
Pour terminer cette visite dans les coulisses de fabrication, il faut aussi faire mention du travail audio, car l'image doit être convaincante, mais aussi le son. Giants nous a partagé des banques de sons très réalistes pour le bruitage de chaque véhicule. Et la musique a été composée spécialement pour le trailer. Elle vient subtilement renforcer le caractère particulier de chaque personnage. Dans les séquences de Jacob, par exemple, on utilise principalement des riffs de guitare classique, alors que dans les passages sur Sophia, on utilise plutôt des sons électroniques. Ces deux thèmes viennent s'assembler progressivement dans le trailer, se renforcer jusqu'à la conclusion du film. Au final, un tel projet aura fait collaborer une trentaine de personnes pendant 4 mois de travail intensif. C'est un véritable travail d'équipe entre Giants, capsules et tous les différents intervenants. Quand vous mettez autant d'efforts dans une création, que ce soit un jeu ou un trailer, vous le faites dans l'espoir qu'il rencontre son public, qu'il fasse rêver les gens, et lire les messages très positifs de la communauté nous a apporté énormément de satisfaction. Voilà, nous espérons que ce court voyage dans les coulisses de fabrication de ce trailer vous a plu, et merci beaucoup d'avoir répondu à l'appel de Farming Simulator 22.
We really enjoyed working on this trailer. Let us know how you liked it in the chat or on the official Farming Simulator Discord server. Up next is a topic I'm always very excited about. It's also always the first tough decision I have to make when playing a new farming simulator. Which map do I play on? Farming Simulator 22 will come with 3 beautiful maps in total. The popular Alpine map Erlengrad is making its return, and together with the 2 new detail-oriented environments, it will not be easy to decide where to begin. Today, we will introduce you to one of the new maps. We travel to the Midwest in the United States, and somewhere there, we will find our fictional town called Elm Creek. The person who currently spends the most time in Elm Creek is Florian Busse, and he will tell you now what farmers will find there. Isn't that right, Florian?
Ja, natürlich. Ich habe unzählige Stunden.
I work as a senior level designer at Giants, and I'm responsible for the visual and structural look of the US map for FS22. Needless to say, I have spent countless hours in Elm Creek. At Giant Software, we have specialists in 3D modeling, texturing, effects, audio, and more, not to mention the game designers and programmers who then implement their vision in the game. Creating a map for Farming Simulator is a team effort. As Martin mentioned, Elm Creek is inspired by the American Midwest. We did some in-depth research when creating this map. In general, the US Midwest has a completely flat landscape, so it was difficult to find a region suitable for 2 × 2 kilometers. Just providing a flat rectangle would not be enough for us. So first we had to take a closer look at the landscape. After a while, we understood the diversity of the terrain. We also found hilly areas, rivers, and streams that cut deep notches into the landscape. Eventually, we created a combination of these terrain features within the authentic flat landscape. The most obvious difference compared to Ravenport in FS19, we have a flat landscape with no coastline. Instead, for example, Elm Creek has a hidden canyon with a cave, which contains rocks that we embedded seamlessly into the landscape. In the flat area, we also work with slight increases and decreases in elevation, so you can drive under our railroad line, which goes straight through the land with its underpasses, and you can even drive over it when you come across the railroad bridge. Elm Creek features several bridges due to various rivers and streams that run throughout the map. However, the rivers are not deep and can also easily be crossed with a vehicle, so you won't feel restricted in your movement. This gives us the opportunity to add the necessary visual dynamics to the map, which should give it a subtle attraction through constant variation, rather than on a 2 × 2 kilometer flat plain, where interest is quickly lost. The focus of Elm Creek is on vast areas of farmland. There's no real town this time. We're actually more on the edges of town. There's a gas station, various small businesses, residential areas, and even a few slices of Americana, with a baseball stadium and bowling center. Dealing with a large draw distance presents a challenge to us. We have to make sure that buildings can be easily hidden in the distance. We need to reduce the number of objects to a minimum in order to be able to offer you a good frame rate, so that you can also play the game as smoothly as possible. Many buildings are visible over a long distance, so we can't just fade them out. With medium distance, we have the same problem with all objects and props that need a high distance visibility. This increases the number of generally visible objects enormously.
Wir versuchen die Sichtlinien mit Bäumen.
We try to break the lines of sight with trees to allow clipping distances, that is, the imperceptible fade out of so many objects.
Die visuelle Menge zu reduzieren, gibt es aber auch noch andere Möglichkeiten.
There are other ways to reduce the amount of visual objects. If you just put trees in the center or use trees to hide stuff, it also increases the number of transparent areas, because the branches and leaves of the trees are created by so-called alpha planes. That is, they are not 3D modeled, but 2D drawings with transparent backgrounds.
Diese sind aber transparent. Und das bedeutet eine hohe Renderzeit für diese Objekte. Dazu haben diese Bäume.
They also have quite a few polygons. After all, we want to present you with decent vegetation. That's the design challenge.
Gestalterische Herausforderung. Man möchte wundervolle Grafiken.
We want to provide you a game that features great graphics, but also smooth performance.
Gibt es ein technisches.
To solve this, there are various technical remedies, and each remedy has its own side effects.
Das richtige Heilmittel anzuwenden und die
The art is now to apply the right remedy and to balance side effects in a way that we get a stable and high frame rate. Our programmers and technical artists do a fantastic job and guarantee you a smooth experience.
Im Gegensatz.
In contrast to the farm layout of FS19, we decided to place the farm in the middle of the map so that the player can spread out to all sides and have all the possibilities to create their own unique farm.
Dazu haben wir die Anzahl der zusätzlichen Dekorationen.
To do this, we reduced the number of additional decorative buildings in the farm area and decided to make the buildings open and accessible.
Mehr Platz für eure eigenen Gebäude.
This way, you have more space for your own buildings without those that you don't need getting in your way.
So hat jetzt zum Beispiel die Garage.
Both the garage and barn interiors feature multiple levels. You can drive into the buildings and store your vehicles there. The barn can also be used as a storage room for pallets, big bags, or other items you need for farm operations. Forklifts and other small vehicles will fit through most of the doors. The fields may seem small at the beginning of your career on Elm Creek and FS22, but remember, in the beginning, players don't have much money, and the bigger the field, the higher the costs.
Insgesamt gibt es.
In total, there are 81 predefined fields on Elm Creek, more than we've had before. But we still have the larger fields typical for the region.
Großen Felder auch, die typische Landschaft in USA.
Experienced players with the appropriate equipment will find these larger fields to be a great addition to their farming business.
Setzt natürlich voraus.
And as always, you will have the ability to merge or create fields at your own discretion.
Felder miteinander zu kombinieren und zusammenzulegen. So könnt ihr aus kleineren Feldern größere Felder machen.
Use a plow with Create Fields enabled and use your imagination to create your own unique landscape in Elm Creek.
Wenn ihr euch die Karte ansieht,
if you look at the map, you will notice that many various field shapes exist. Some have rounded off edges, some are shaped completely differently. This is to provide a more authentic alignment with the infrastructure and a believable embedding. As in the Alpine map, we offer undefined areas with complete organic shapes. The player has to discover them on their own, as they are not predefined and do not have a number on the minimap. The tutorial fields at the beginning are rectangular, so each player has the opportunity to save time and enjoy a comfortable start in the game. When you decide to invest more time in the game, the challenge increases. You'll have to be more efficient and do some additional things. You'll have to cut trees, combine fields, and adjust the field shape so that the helpers are of good help to you.
Euch eine gute Hilfe sein. Ihr seid derjenige, der bestimmt, was macht und wo es macht. Ihr habt definiert, wie die
You determine the best way for your farm to be efficient.
Wenn ihr die Karte
If you explore the map and go to its corners, you will see farms that you can use in multiplayer mode.
gebaut sind. Und diese Farmen könnt ihr im Mehrspielermodus verwenden. Diese Bereiche finden sich eben in den Ecken. Sie haben das gleiche.
They have the same layout concept as the starter farm, with small fields in close proximity.
Bieten ein ideales Startgebiet.
The surrounding fields make them an ideal starting area with opportunities to expand later.
Finden sich noch Gebäude, die aber nur zur Illustration für den Singleplayer.
You can, of course, build your own farms any way you wish, on any land that you own on the map.
Generell
We wanted to achieve more complexity in the architecture in FS22, more details and layers, so that everything becomes more believable and authentic. Think about the vehicles that are also getting more detailed. Both of those things have to grow together now. The world has to become more detailed, just like the vehicles.
Jetzt genug gefachsimpelt.
That's enough shop talk. Now, I'd like to show you some very special places in Elm Creek that are my personal favorites.
Thank you, Florian. I'm tempted to start my Farming Simulator 22 on Elm Creek now. That said, we still have to show you the other new map, and, well, we'll save it for later. We want to show you a lot at Farmcon, but we also want to keep some gems for the future. Something we did already announce in our very first announcement for Farming Simulator 22 were the seasonal changes. As much as it might be nice to have an endless summer like before, having alternating seasons and crop calendars adds more realism. But also complexity. We've thought about this a lot. How do we edit but also keep it fun for players who don't want to be told when they can or cannot do something? We think that we found a good solution, which will enhance the gameplay for everyone. Jos, your turn.
Thanks, Martin, for having me. I'm Jos, and I'm gameplay developer at Giants. I'll tell you something about the seasonal cycles in Farming Simulator 22. The seasonal cycles in Farming Simulator 22 bring a whole new level of gameplay. First, we have spring. In spring, the trees have vibrant colors and the brand new year starts. Then we have summer, where the plants mature and the trees darken. Afterwards, we get autumn with its darker colors and red and brown trees, depending on the tree type. And in the end, we have winter, where all the leaves fall from the trees and you get snow. A year is divided into 12 months. Every month is one day in the game. But you can still control how fast the day passes. This way, season can range from half an hour of game time up to a whole weekend. The biggest change in gameplay that comes with the seasonal cycles is the new crop calendar. The crop calendar decides whether you can plant barley or must stay with cotton. For example, the barley is a winter barley in our game, so you can only plant it in the autumn and it will grow until ripe summer. This way, throughout the year, you have to decide whether you can plant something or you cannot. This adds a whole new level of gameplay and mechanics to the crop system. But there is more. Because of the varying times of harvest for each crop, you also get varying prices during the year. This way, it is not the best method to sell directly after harvesting. You should store your product and sell it the year after to get better prices. In the winter, we have snow, which you can remove with the snowplows to keep your yard clean. Also, grass does not grow in the winter, so if you have animals, you have to make sure you get enough food for them before the winter starts. If you don't like removing snow in the winter, or you don't have animals, you can choose to skip a whole day ahead, or even more than one day, to keep the pace to your game. There have been a lot of challenges in implementing this feature into the base game. We knew from the Seasons mod that this feature would be very popular, but a lot of people, they prefer freedom of planting whenever or harvesting whenever they want. That's why we wanted to find a middle ground that worked for every player in a wide player base. We also made changes to the game engine to add better performance to our new growth system. Adding toggles to our game adds complexity due to the possible scenarios that we have to test and balance. We also added new changes to our game engine to add more performant growth and more reliable growth. We also updated our maps to take full advantage of the new changes with the seasons. We added snowmen, we added snow on roofs, and we added many items that depend on the current season. We hope you have fun with our new snowman. Mod makers can also adjust their mods to the new system. Map makers, for example, can add objects to the game that are only visible in the summer, for example a barbecue. They can also define exactly where snow falls and does not fall, and when the lights turn on and off. With the new environment tab in the editor, it is also possible to change the light intensity based on the season. With the new environment tab, it is also possible to control when objects are visible and are not visible, much easier than before. On top of all this, map makers can define where their map is located in the world. They can do this by adjusting the location in the world and adding a new weather and crop calendar. This way, you can define that in the south of the world, your sugarcane grows much faster than in the north. It is also possible to add new integrations into the seasonal cycles for your mods. And we hope to see a lot of new gameplay features being added based on the time of the year. I'm interested to hear what you think about these new features. And if you have questions, you can ask them in the upcoming Q&A. Back to Farmcon.
Gotta say, I like summer, but I'm looking forward to snow in Farming Simulator 22. If you'd like to have a chat with Jos and other Giants folks, then join our Discord server, where we will be available during and after the show. On there, you will also find discussions about the Farming Simulator League. In the FSL, teamwork, coordination, discipline and precision are needed to take home the victory when the teams fight for a prize pool of 250,000 euros in the current Season 3. I bet we see some really exciting matches in the next tournament, which will take place this weekend. Our next ambassador is actually a part of Bednar's FSL team. Let me introduce you to Jose from Czech Republic.
Zdravíme Farmcon! Jmenuji se Jose, jsem streamer a youtuber. Zároveň jsem součástí týmu FSL Bednar. Giant mi dal pár minut, abych vám řekl pár slov. Tímto jim chci poděkovat, že mi dali možnost vytvořit českou komunitu, která je úžasná. A pomalu se zapojuje do vytváření módů pro Farming Simulator. Jsem rád, že mě komunita v tomto podporuje. Bez vás by to nebylo ono. A nakonec chci poděkovat veškeré komunitě Farming Simulator, že vůbec existuje. A jsem rád, že jsem její součástí. Takže se mějte krásně. Ahoj!
Coordination and precision. Precision and farming. Precision farming. This transition was almost too easy. Back in 2020, we've announced our partnership with EIT Food and John Deere to develop a precision farming mod together. Your feedback was astonishing, and we are glad to say that we will continue working on it, and we're happy to announce precision farming will return in Farming Simulator 22. But for those of you who are perhaps unfamiliar with precision farming and what it adds to Farming Simulator, let's start with a quick summary of the project.
To start taking samples of your soil, you'll need two things: the John Deere Gainer and the Iceria Scout. With the sampler, we can find out on which types of soil your crops are growing on. Let's take a look at the new Precision Farming tab in the menu. There are 4 different kinds of soil: loamy sand, sandy loam, loam, and silty clay, each offering a different level of yield potential. They will become visualized on the map after you've taken and analyzed the samples. The next step is to find out about your soil before you begin preparing the field. Samples are collected in the vessels at the bottom of the unit. Let's switch to the soil map and have a look at the visual impact of taking samples with a 25-meter radius. You can see the radius on the minimap as well. This is the only indication for areas with samples taken. They're not analyzed yet. Since 1 or 2 samples won't give you enough data, you need to cover as much of the field as possible. Have enough samples collected? Press Z. Depending on the difficulty, the price of analyzing the samples will vary. When you get the lab results back, you'll see the soil properties on the soil map. Now you have the data. Not only are there 4 different soil types, you also have to take into account different pH levels and the content of nitrogen when improving your yield. You can increase your pH levels by liming the fields. The most prominent addition in the UI is the lime application bar. While the red mark shows you the current pH level, the tiny flag indicates which pH value to aim for. By pressing the comma button, you can activate or deactivate the automatic application rate of lime. If you choose automatic mode, the pH value will be increased dynamically up to the optimal value. Each soil type has a different optimum value. You can see the liming results on the pH map. You now need to provide the crops with nutrients by getting the nitrogen levels up. Depending on the crop you want to sow, use slurry or manure first. These help to reduce the application rate and costs for mineral fertilizer later. After sowing the crop, you can adjust the nitrogen level to the crop target value with mineral fertilizer. While liming and fertilizing, you'll see the rising values live on the minimap. After the usual field work, including the removal of weeds, the crops will soon be ready for harvesting. But that's not all. Precision farming is about collecting data and statistics too. Here, you'll see everything that has happened so far. How many soil samples you took per field and how much it cost, and how much lime and fertilizer was applied. Depending on how many fields are in your possession, you might be using the AI helper. His route can now be optimized with the help of the GPS signal provided by an RTK station. There are 2 different RTK stations to choose from. After placing the RTK station on your farm, the helper will work more efficiently, meaning you'll save seeds, lime, fertilizer, fuel, and in the end, money.
We've invited Dr. Thomas Engel from John Deere to tell us more about the plans. I'll hand over to my colleague Stefan Maurus, who was also deeply involved in the project.
Welcome to this interview. My name is Stefan Maurus, as he already told you, and I'm a gameplay programmer here at Giant Software. And now it's all about the Precision Farming DLC. Some of you might know this already, but this DLC was not only developed by us, it was also developed with some others. And one of them is John Deere. And this leads us to our special guest today. It's Dr. Thomas Engel from John Deere.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here and talk about precision farming. My name is Thomas Engel. I'm also a farm boy. I grew up on a farm. I studied agricultural sciences in München, Weinstefan, and then I stayed there as assistant professor, and that was in the 90s. And at that time, we had already our first precision farming project. Nobody talked outside the university about that, and we did already use GPS at that time. And after that, I joined in 97. I joined class and introduced the first precision farming products into the market, yield mapping especially. And then in 2000, I joined Deere. So I'm now 21 years with John Deere. And I was first responsible for the development of precision farming products. And then I had the overall responsibility for precision farming in Europe till 2015. And since then, I'm manager technology innovation strategy, looking further ahead, what are the next important technologies in future we should work on, and also working with universities, with students, working with startups, and but most of the time it's all related to precision farming. So precision farming is more or less the area where I'm in since 30 years.
That's pretty interesting that precision farming is more than 20 years old and not just a thing that came up a few years ago. That's also new to me. Can you tell us a little bit about the project? How did it came up and what was your role in that project?
I think precision farming, like I said, is quite old, but the adoption at the farmers level is still not where it should be. And also a lot of people outside agriculture have no clue about that. That's why we thought a project or a DLC for the precision farming simulator could be quite interesting. And then another thing came, and that is called EIT Food. So EIT Food is a big consortium, And John Deere is a member of that consortium. So first of all, EIT, what is EIT? EIT is the European Institute for Innovation and Technology located in Budapest in Hungary. And these EIT, they give EU money for different funding areas, and they initiated so-called KICs, knowledge and innovation communities, with partners from industry, from universities, from RTOs like Fraunhofer in Germany. So typically these KICs are 50 to 100 partner companies and universities for a specific area. And one area is EIT food, so the food chain, starting with primary production on the farm level up to the consumer. And the idea is just to improve overall the knowledge about food, how it's produced, but also changing nutrition habits of consumers. And so we thought this sounds an opportunity to get funding for that, because precision farming, people should know more about that. They should know more about it. And that's why we applied for a project there with several partners. And yes, it was accepted. And so we started that project last year and finally got, as a result, a DLC.
Yeah, so it's also, in my opinion, really important to tell the people that farming is, a lot more than we tell in the game. In our game, most of the things are really simplified to make the game enjoyable, and so it's fun playing it. And also the precision farming DLC aims also for that fun. So it's also a bit simplified, but tells the people that it's more than a simple process that farmers are doing out there.
Yeah, I think what our goal of the project was really, first of all, telling people what is precision farming and what is the difference to traditional farming. Traditionally, a farmer, he has a field and he grows one crop, sugar beets or wheat, and does on the whole field everywhere the same. But we know from the early days of precision farming, when we had the first yield mapping, so a sensor on the combine that measures yield, that we have a huge variety. We have areas of the field where the yield is double as high as other areas. And the reason is either soil differences, landscape plays a role. On top of a hill, you typically have less water, and water is running off. In the valley, do you have enough or more than enough water? So typically, you have a lot of yield differences, and so we think you need to therefore do a variable rate application, like we call it. So and that's how it all, let's say, all these ideas came together. We say we need to when we have a high yield and we do just, let's say, the average fertilization, then eventually we haven't applied enough fertilizer. If we have a low yield, we have applied too much, and that's bad for the environment. And so that nitrate will go to the groundwater. And so therefore, I think we need to change that. And with that, we also think we can, on the top yield areas, we still can increase yield, and we can improve quality of the crop, and it is good for the environment. So overall, a win-win situation for the farmer, for the customer, because he gets a higher quality product, and also for the environment.
Yeah, that was also a new thing to me. So that if you got lower yield, you have to apply less fertilizer. I mean, I thought it would be, you have lower yield, you apply more fertilizer, and then you have more yield in general, so you match the field. But it's, exactly the opposite. So that was also new to me as a developer of the game. So
I think it depends. So if the low yield is related to sandy soil with less water capacity, etc., then you need to reduce. If there could be other reasons like compaction or any other reasons, but normally it's the soil. And therefore, I think to have the soil maps is key for precision farming.
The general image of farmers is, let's say, not the best, but it seems like that farming is a lot more than most of the people think.
Yeah, I think that image problem that farming has was one of the reasons why we applied for that project. Because in that project, One of the goals is to raise awareness how food is produced and also improve knowledge about food production. People think farming 50 years ago, the small family-owned farm with a few cows and a few pigs and everything, that was the perfect farming. But first of all, nobody could, with that size of farming, produce the food as for that low price where it is at the moment. So, and on the other hand, we know that we have really, with modern farming technology, this is much better for the environment. And like I said before, less nitrate leaching to the groundwater. One of the reasons why we have too much nitrate in the groundwater is that traditional farming, that we treat the whole field the same. And therefore you have a surplus of nitrogen in some areas, and that goes to the groundwater. Modern farming is much better and is much more sustainable than previous farming. And therefore, I think it's important that I know that. I don't think we need to turn the clock backwards like it was 50 years ago. No, we need to ensure that more precision farming technologies are adopted by the farmers. And that's why we say, okay, we want to, first of all, improve knowledge for under young farmers about precision farming. They learn that nowadays in universities, etc. But also some kids should know about that, and some are also multipliers in their families. So modern farming and precision farming is good for the environment and produces high quality food.
And also, so a game is like a really good way to tell the people in a fun way that there is more.
That's why we thought we reach a wide audience, and for us, I think, and probably we didn't talk about that yet, as John Deere, it's also important that everybody understands that John Deere, our goal is more than just selling and producing machinery. Part of our higher purpose are 4 principles, and one of the principles is we are evergreen, green as our color, and also green as for nature. So we are evergreen as stewards for land, air, and water that sustains us. So we think more, we not only think about producing machines, we think how can we improve overall life of everybody on the planet.
That's really interesting that it's not, that's a lot more than just great tractors in John Deere. So in the project, there were also other parties involved, like you said, universities already. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think in these projects, you need to have, like in all EU-based projects, you need to have partners from several countries, from several areas. And so in that case, we said, okay, we need education. We need also universities involved. So I think we looked for partners and found partners. One is University of Hohenheim, located close to Stuttgart, one of the largest universities for agriculture in Germany. Then we have the University of Reading, close to London, also a famous agricultural university. And they worked with students and discussed the DLC and what should be in such a module in a game. How could we implement the ideas of precision farming in a game? So they delivered feedback. We had sessions with them, workshops. That's one thing. Then we have Grupo AN from Spain. So we also have covered Southern Europe. They are a big cooperative and they have more than 30,000 farmers as members. So they delivered also, we had sessions with young farmers there. They also delivered input into that and gave us constructive feedback. Since this year, it is now the 2nd year of the project, which just started, we also have the Institute for Animal Reproduction and Food Research from the Polish Academy of Sciences. So with that, we cover also, let's say, young farmers in Eastern Europe, but also we cover with that the research side and the communication side, so that we also make that product and that module or increase awareness not only in Western and Southern but also in Eastern Europe, so that we have a good good representation of all areas. And finally, clearly we needed somebody to implement that or to develop that module or that DLC, and that was clear. We needed to work with you guys, because I think Giants is definitely the most advanced and best software in that farming simulator world, and I think also by far the biggest player there. So there was no question, and luckily we were able to convince you to work with us, and we are really happy about this first DLC that was finally published end of last year, and it really I think it is a great product.
And also from our side, it was a really good cooperation with all these partners together, and it helped us really well to develop this mod, and also to have the knowledge of them, to help us to make it as realistic as possible. For example, like the nitrogen values and so on, so they are matching the reality. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the first version of the precision farming module. Can you tell us a little bit about the features we've implemented?
Yes, sure. I think first of all we need to understand that all what we do when we do variable rate applications is based on precise location in the field, and therefore we need GNSS, we need global navigation satellite systems like GPS, but nowadays we also use GLONASS, the Russian system. We use Galileo with our receivers, and with that we can locate the machine with an accuracy of 2 centimeters in the field. And so we said with that, with so-called RTK base stations, we want to do that so that everybody understands with that we can steer the machine automatically very accurate without any overlap. So we added RTK base stations to the game. Then, like I said at the beginning, we need to understand what the differences in the field are, what the soil differences in the field are. Therefore, first the player has to take soil samples, and then they are analyzed in the lab, and then you get a nice map of the soil with the different soil types. And based on the soil types, you also get values like the pH value of the soil and also the nitrogen content of the soil. And based on that, then you start working in the field. Clearly, you need to seed first, but before that, typically you apply lime, and lime to compensate for the wrong pH value. So every soil type needs a specific pH value, because let's say when you have a sandy soil, it should be lower, and when you have a more heavy soil, then also you need a higher pH value, because this also helps to build structure, that the soil is better for the crops. So every soil type has its goal, its pH target value, and therefore you start spreading lime, and with that you can then bring it to the specific value where it should be. Then after seeding, you also need to do fertilizing. So we have here 2 areas. We have organic fertilizer, which you can apply this. You still apply uniformly. Before the lime, you can change in the field based on the soil types. In the first type of the module, we just said, okay, for manure, we just organic fertilizer, we do everywhere the same, and then we do the rest with a mineral fertilizer that could be granular or could be fluid fertilizer, and then you just bring it up to the level where it should be for that area in the field. So this is our fertilizing is a big area, because it's also so sensitive for the nature, for the environment. And then finally you need to harvest, and then during harvesting you see you get a yield map and you see the differences of the yield in the field. That's where precision farming originally from the idea started 25 years ago, that you have this yield map and understand how much variance you have in the field. And then finally, when you have done variable rate applications, you also have different types of costs. You have a different income level with different yields, and you have different costs. So you also at the end get an economic analysis about what you have, how much money you made on your field with your precision farming activities.
Yeah, I think that was also really well received by the community. We got really good feedback about the analysis about what you have done to reach that yield. Because in the base game, you don't have any information. You just see that you harvested, one tipper full of wheat, but nothing more. And now you see directly on the field where are the good spots, where the bad, and all this list of costs. So it was also well received by the community. And in general, the feedback from the community was really good about the first module. We received, we got now almost 1 million downloads. So that's really impressive.
That's great.
Yeah, and also the feedback in the forums on the social media channels is really good. And they're also looking forward to the second module that may come. Can we tell them a little bit about what we plan to do?
Yeah, I think we just started to work on that or further define that second module. We applied again with EIT Food for another year of funding, and we just recently got approval for that. So it's great that we can further work on that. And we already decided that it doesn't make any sense to make that second module for the Farming Simulator 19. So it will be based on the Farming Simulator 22. So that is probably the first information or the first decision that already is made. And then on a high level, we already also decided what additional features we want to add. And on a high level, we can say we also looked into the feedback from the community. So before we really started to talk about new features, we analyzed the feedback from the players, from the gamers. We analyzed, we presented it again to students, to young farmers. We discussed it at the academia level with the professors at the universities, etc. And after all that feedback, we made a priority list. What should we and could we do as a next step? Because there are a lot of ideas, but you cannot do everything. So I think one of the feedbacks was this taking soil samples is nice, but it's so time consuming. And for some, it just takes too long. So we said that definitely we have to add an option that you can somehow purchase a soil map from a lab or from a service provider who can then does the soil sampling for you, and you get the map at the end. Another area which is very important and which is also, I think, for a lot of people, a very sensitive area especially not for the farming level, and we want to also there spread the message what is possible, is weed control. Weeds need to be controlled because otherwise they take away light, nutrients, water from the crops, and therefore the yield goes down. And we cannot afford that we have lower yields because we need to feed the population. So we need to do something against it. And one thing which is highly discussed at the moment is that herbicides are bad. You shouldn't use herbicides because, like glyphosate, is with all these discussions around could eventually create cancer, etc. So people don't like that farmers are using herbicides. So weed control is important. So what could we do? We could do also mechanical weeding, for example, and not using herbicides, and that's also possible nowadays. I think we would like from the John Deere side add a feature called See and Spray, that you have cameras on the spray boom, and the cameras detect weeds, and only where weeds are, then the sprayer sprays, and all the rest is not sprayed. So with that, we have done research. In some areas, you can reduce the amount of herbicides by 90%. So the impact on the environment is huge. And also, therefore, I think this is definitely a topic which is good not only for the farmers, but also for the community. And then the third area is again related to sustainable farming, making farming more sustainable, is still further define nitrogen fertilization. Because we do it at the moment, we spray mineral fertilizer or spread that, and but based on the yield potential. And that is good, it's already an improvement. But nitrogen is very dynamic. So the soil, in the soil you have the mineralization of organic matter. So the soil delivers nitrogen, that depends on temperatures, on water, on a lot of factors. So just taking the soil into account is not enough. So we need to also have a sensor that looks on the crop. So when you drive over the field, you have the crop, and then when you, with a sensor, you can measure the nutrient status of that crop, and then directly during driving over, change the amount of nitrogen. That's one thing. And also manure, slurry manure is also it's not really homogeneous. So also there you can add sensors, so high-tech sensors, near-infrared sensors, to measure the nutrient content and adjust that. So these are a few things where we think we are worthwhile to look deeper into that and to figure out how could that be implemented in an easy and fun way, and but also to show, again, sustainability is the most important thing, to improve our image, and also not only the image, but to really do something good for the environment, and not reducing just yields. Because when you just say we are not allowed to spread the fertilizer, or we need to reduce it by 20%, then the yield goes down, and how could we then feed the growing population? So we need to ensure, even with lower and less nitrogen, that we reach the same or even higher yields. And we think these are the most important things for the future.
That sounds really promising, and I'm really looking forward to the second year of this project. Yeah, thank you for being here with us in our studio. It was a really interesting talk. I hope you out there enjoyed it as well as I did. And some last words from your side?
Yeah, I think it was a pleasure, first of all, to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And we are really looking forward. We are excited that we now can further work on you, also on the Farming Simulator 22, and bring new features, more exciting features. And I think the cooperation so far was fantastic, and we are looking forward to build on that and to make an even greater product.
Thank you, Thomas, for being here, and yeah, let's get back to the Farmcon.
Isn't this great news? Precision farming will also come as a downloadable mod for Farming Simulator 22 after launch. And just in case you forgot, the game will launch on November 22nd this year on PC, Mac, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as Xbox One and Stadia. You can already pre-order digitally or at retail. Depending on your region, the game boxes will have a different tractor on the front. Speaking of boxes, let's not forget about our Collector's Edition, which comes with a working USB beacon light. You plug it in, and when you activate the beacon lights within Farming Simulator 22, they start to light up, and they stop when you deactivate them in the game again. How cool is that? We're coming towards the end of the first day of Farmcon 21, but don't leave yet. So, we have had a detailed look at Elm Creek and the seasonal changes feature of Farming Simulator 22. We showed you what it means for you and us that we are self-publishing the game now. We've had an exciting behind-the-scenes feature of the cinematic intro of Farming Simulator 22. But what would be a Farmcon without the direct contact with you? Let me invite you to our Discord server, where some of us will be available in special Farmcon rooms to answer questions and have discussions with you. However, there's one catch. We cannot answer everything today yet, because we will have a great program for tomorrow's Farmcon too. It's July 22nd after all, and we have reserved a lot of time for Stefan Maurus, Marius Hofmann and Kenneth Burgess to show you a lot of changes, both big and small, as well as new features which will make it into Farming Simulator 22. I'm really looking forward to this, because at every Farmcon I notice that often the smaller features which don't make it into the headlines are the ones that are super important for you. Thomas Brunner will also show you how the Giants Engine 9 powers the game and will most likely throw around a lot of technical words I have never heard before, but which will make the game look great. At the end of the day, tomorrow, we will also spend some time answering a lot of questions we've got in the last few weeks in a special Q&A segment. So let's head over to Discord now and have a chat. Otherwise, see you tomorrow.
country.